Dharma Civilization Foundation, unfolding Dharma for the well-being of the individual and the world. By promoting the understanding of India's civilization, religion, and culture through education.
We will begin today with the voices of the kids themselves. We will be briefly revisiting one of the main issues facing our Hindu youth and the difficult situations they have had to deal with learning from textbooks. So today we have Astha Tripathi and Shreya Das, who are both in high school. Astha is in the 12th grade and Shreya is in the 11th grade. They will briefly take us through this issue and where we stand today.
Namaste, my name is Astha Tripathi. I'm graduating from 12th grade this week.
And namaste, my name is Shreya Das, and I just recently finished this week actually my 11th grade.
So, everyone can see this picture, right? So this picture has a woman standing in dirty clothes, surrounded by trash, piles of trash, and a pig who's eating that trash. What do you think this represents? This represents Hinduism in California textbooks. You're thinking, what? Hinduism? This no way shows what Hinduism is about, but this is somehow what's put into the textbooks. You can see that there's a comparison between that picture, which is showing the untouchables, and the Brahmin. There's that picture of the Brahmin. What this is mainly focusing on, the caste system. Now let's take a look how textbooks represent Christianity. So this is a picture, a page for Christianity. There's a nice picture of a very famous event, the Last Supper. It's shown in a very positive light. There's a very nice paragraph written about it. Now this sends a very positive message. Now let's take a picture, let's take a look on how they represent Islam. So this is what represents Islam in textbooks. There's a nice picture of an architect of the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. It explains what it is, but somehow it shows a very positive light. But somehow this is not shown for Hinduism. There's no mention about the architecture of India. Nothing about what the actual culture is about. Why does this happen? Now there's a few quotes from actual textbooks. The first quote says, Durga and Kali are terrible, extremely bloodthirsty forms of goddesses. This is from the ancient South Asian world of Oxford University Press. Again, this sends a very subtle bias against Hindu gods. Reading this, Hindu kids would not feel very proud of their gods and goddesses. And another example is, unlike Vishnu, Shiva is not concerned with human matters. And Shakti is both cruel and kind, from History Alive Teachers Curriculum Institute. Again, when I was in middle school, that History Alive was the textbook that we read in 6th grade. Reading that, I remember in the classroom, sitting there going, this is not what my culture is about, and feeling really ashamed and unable to speak out against it. Now, how does this happen? Why does this happen?
So to kind of understand, there's this big discrepancy between how Hinduism and Hindu culture really is and how it's being portrayed in textbooks. So here we have kind of a diagram that's showing us how this whole process happens. So at the very top we see law, which clearly states to represent religions in a fair manner and to show everything positively. So this means we can't discriminate and we can't ridicule any religion. And now looking back at the few pictures that we saw, just a few slides ago, that's not the case. So going down from the law, we see that there's the standards which set the framework. So the framework is where we start seeing the problem. There's a subtle bias against Hinduism. It only counts negative aspects of culture, and a lot of these facts which are negative are also inaccurate. So by suppressing the positive parts of our culture, they're highlighting the negative parts, and that's why we see these pages in the textbook. Now going down from the standards and framework, we have the publishers. So the publishers basically take a look at the framework and they create the textbooks by following it. So even though there in the books we see such an open bias against our culture, the problem really lies in the framework. So again, like as we saw in the pictures, the picture choices of the textbooks, they're very negative. There's no positive images being shown to the children. Now, going a little bit more into the syllabus, there's kind of a selective way that the textbooks are portraying our culture. So as you can see on the left, these are the facts that are mentioned in the textbook. So one common thing that I'm sure all the children have learned about is the Aryan invasion theory. Now, just like a reality check here, in recent years, multiple historians have discredited this theory, and there has been lots of evidence that has been brought up to show that this theory is in fact just a myth, and it is not historically accurate at all. And yet still, somehow, the children are learning about this, and that's just not accurate. Also, there's so much emphasis on the caste system. There are pages and pages about the caste system, and children seem to think that the caste system is basically what our culture is about. Now, some things that aren't mentioned, which we are proud of our culture for example, are yoga. And we can, say in the past couple of years, yoga has really been highlighted, and it's become very popular in culture today. And a lot of people, they're like, yes, I'm going to do yoga, but do they really know where it came from? Do they know that this is, in fact, a really big part of my culture? Also, Ayurveda, forms of medicine, and Indian classical dance, music, just like the performance we just had a few minutes ago, all of these things are part of our culture, and nobody is learning about them. Another big key part that I want to highlight here is that a lot of things in our culture is influenced by Hindu ideals and by Hindu philosophies. An example being the Beatles. If you listen to their music, you can hear the tabla in the background. You can hear parts of Indian culture there. And also here we have a picture of J.D. Salinger. He's a famous author who wrote the book Catcher in the Rye, and he was also influenced by the Indian culture. So these are just a few examples of how Hinduism and Indian culture has really impacted our society. And there's so many things that aren't being talked about, such as that diversity, core Hindu values, to understand how this works, and divine feminism. So again here's a picture, again going into further detail about the caste system. As you can see, there's all the different castes in this picture. And the thing is, in the 10 pages that Hinduism is talked about, the words caste system are mentioned 35 times. So, to anyone to see and read these 10 pages, the only thing you would think about Hinduism is caste system. So, they're creating all these stereotypes which aren't true at all, just because of the way it's presented in the books. So this has a negative impact on all of the students as a whole, and also in particular to Hindu students who, they look at these books and they read these things and they feel ashamed of who they are. We personally can, attest to this fact and talk about how, we're disappointed to see what we're learning about. Like me personally, last year I actually took a world history AP course, so we went into lots of details about all the cultures. So obviously I was very excited to learn about Indian history, and I was going to, go up there and share with my classmates, yes, this is my culture, I'm so proud to be Hindu. But I was surprised and shocked, in fact, to see that there was, only half a chapter dedicated to our history. We didn't go into any details. It was, whatever we saw, it was just one small paragraph combined with, China's history. And I was, disappointed. I was like, wait, I know so much more about my history. What's going on here? And Asta would also like to. I also wanted to add the fact that we're mainly focusing on 6th grade textbooks because it's when these kids who are in 6th grade, they are very open-minded. They make opinions really fast, but if they read about such negative biases against Hinduism, that's what they will think for maybe the rest of their life, that that's what Hinduism is. And personally, I have a story that when I was in 10th grade, we were studying the British colonization of all the different, wherever they colonized, and one of the units that came up was India. And while they were talking about it, they talked about sati, where they said it was a ritual that they used to do when women lose their husbands, they'd be forced to jump into the fire. And I remember thinking about it, going I've never heard of this before. Where did this come out of? And I remember going back to school and going back home. It was in my mind the entire day, and I went back home and I talked to my dad about it, and he explained it to me, and he gave me a little more background. But when I went back to school, I tried to tell my classmates what it was really about, but they wouldn't believe me because I'm not the teacher, I'm the student. So in that time, I was unable to influence them what my culture is actually about, and I remember feeling really ashamed about it. So what we're doing, this campaign is called Dignity for Hinduism. It's by HSS, Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh, and it's being run by the teenagers.
So recently, a few teenagers, we went up to Sacramento to explain to the Department of Education what we're trying to do, because starting this year, they're revising the framework, which is where the main biases come out of. So we have a few videos we wanted to share to you what some teenagers talked about when they went and talked in front of the Department of Education. Divine Feminine.
Good afternoon. My name is Tanvi Zershi, and I am an 8th grader currently attending Miller Middle School in San Jose. I have come all this way and have missed school and missed Common Core exams to express my views. I noticed that in my textbook, many important facts have been left out about my religion, Hinduism. I would like to talk about one of them. As a girl growing up, I feel that it is very important for us girls to feel equal to boys. Hinduism allows me to feel just that way, as it is the only major religion that has the concept of divine feminine, Shakti, which views power and strength as feminine. For us, superior beings are not just male, but also female. Women also have leading voices in Hinduism. A few examples are rishis, such as Gargi and Maitri, saints like Mirabai, and leaders like Jhansi Ki Rani. Standards for evaluating instructional materials clearly states that they will be achieved by portraying people of both sexes in the full range of their human potential in all societal roles. This is not reflected in the textbooks, as the importance of women in Hinduism is left out. There is no space left for this or anything genuine about Hinduism, because the only thing we supposedly need to be told about is the caste system. One textbook mentions caste system 35 times in 10 pages, which makes me think it is deliberately trying to portray Hinduism as a set of ruthless practices. On the very first day of school, teachers promise us that we will feel safe and protected in their class. I suppose this includes my self-worth as being protected. But after reading the chapter about Hinduism in my textbook, I felt exposed, vulnerable, and my heritage inferior to others. School is supposed to be a place where we learn to gain knowledge, not to gain insecurity. Please take my plea into account and include contributions of Hindu women so that I can also feel proud about my religion. Thank you.
This last video is shown by a 12th grader who emphasizes on the biases against Hinduism.
Good afternoon. My name is Prasanna Ranade, and I'm in the 12th grade at Lynbrook High School in San Jose. Let me begin with a question. This man led the greatest number of American deaths in U.S. history. He chose to let others fight for him and destroyed the economy of the South. Can you guess who this man is? What if I told you he was Abraham Lincoln? Yes, the very Abraham Lincoln who abolished slavery. All the facts I told you earlier are considered to be true about him, but by carefully selecting and emphasizing certain facts, certain negative aspects, one can completely change the meaning of a person or equally a culture. That is what is happening to Hinduism today. Our textbooks, while focusing on the positive aspects of other religions, select only the negative aspects of Hinduism in a way that completely changes the image from reality. For example, Hinduism has influenced visionary Western thinkers, from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is considered one of the founding thinkers of America, Henry David Thoreau, the doyen of the civil disobedience movement, the famous Beatles, and the legendary inventor Nikola Tesla. However, this information is never mentioned in the textbooks. Of course, focusing on only the negative aspects of a religion will understandably make Hindus learning such information feel inferior. Now, I want to share with you all a vision. I do not simply dream that one day equality and justice will prevail. I believe in it. And I do not simply dream that one day future generations will be taught to be proud of their own religion, their own culture, their own heritage. I believe in it. And I believe all of us here can make such a future happen. Dignity for Hinduism is all that we seek, not excessive glorification. I request that you accept the changes suggested by the Hindu Education Foundation regarding this issue. Now tell me, do you want Hindu children to develop a negative self-image because of the current interpretation and consequently have low self-esteem and poor grades? Or do you believe in these children taking pride in their culture rather than being humiliated for it? Yes? Then let's make that dream a reality. Thank you.
So as you can see in the videos, this has already started affecting so many of us Hindu children who are learning today, and it will continue to do so in the future unless we make a change. So we strongly urge you to support our cause and to remember, we don't want everybody to think about Hinduism and see that one picture from the beginning of the presentation of a woman surrounded in poverty and trash with a cow who's eating the trash. So we want to, we want everybody to see Hinduism in a much better light, and we strongly urge you to support us. Thank you.
Thank you, members of Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh of the youth groups and have been involved in these efforts of Dignity for Hinduism initiative.